What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Bill Paying Hobbyists. I'm Michael. Behind the camera is Ellie. We're using our hobbies and skill sets to keep our debt down and to hopefully save up for a down payment on a house this year. Let's get to it. Today, we're going to start out in, yes, the bathroom. We're going to show you how to fix the wax ring on your toilet in case it's leaking or whatever else. I'm doing it myself because we rent and it's going to save us a lot of money. So we're kind of doing a two-parter here. It's a DIY, but it's also a budget solution. Let's go over the tools first. Before you start any project, you should check on what it is you're gonna work on. Like I checked to make sure I had the right tools for this toilet, for the tank, and for the bowl, because I just wanna make sure that I have everything I need, and you wanna do the same because the tools that you need are probably gonna be different. I'm not a certified plumber, I'm not licensed. However, I did learn from a professional plumber that, can we help you, Oliver? Shop dog wants to come in. I did learn from a certified plumber that had his own business, and I spent a lot of summers and a lot of time helping him do odd jobs on the weekends and stuff like that. So I know what I'm doing, but no, I am not a certified plumber. For this one, the basic tools, you're gonna need some kind of putty knife. You're gonna need that for the old wax ring. For mine, I need a 1/2" wrench and I need a 7/16 wrench. This is for the tank to the bowl, and this is for the bowl to the floor. You will need a flat tip screwdriver, bigger the better. Crescent wrench, always good to have a crescent wrench. Hello, Logan. Pair of adjustable pliers. For this one, I'm also going to need my ratchet. I don't like using ratchets and sockets on toilets because you can get too much pressure and you'll break stuff. I don't want to do that. I'm only going to use this to take apart the old tank from the toilet because it's a 14mm on the tank bolts, and I don't have a 14mm wrench. So I'm using this just to disassemble, not to assemble. A hacksaw with a metal blade is always good to have just in case. And if you don't know all the parts and pieces for your toilet, you're gonna need something, scrap wood or something that you can use that you don't mind getting wet to measure. And I'll show you what that's about later. And then you'll need a bucket, something to sop up water with. I'm using an old rag. A mirror is good to have so that you can see underneath the tank. And then something to clean with, and definitely a lot of paper towels. You're gonna need that too. All right, let's go over the parts you're gonna need. You're gonna need a wax ring. I like to use wax rings. I don't like using the plastic ones and all of that stuff because at some point they're gonna get creased and it's not gonna seal properly. You want the wax because it's squishy, and you'll see that when we go over it, when we do it. You're gonna need tank bolts. These are stainless steel. I use stainless steel because I don't think the brass is very good to use for your tank to bowl because they get wet. For this one, it takes 3, so I had to buy 2 packs because I'm going to come in packs of 2s. Got those. You're going to need some kind of shims. These are plastic shims. I was taught using lead. Kind of hard to find sheet lead anymore, so I'm using the plastic shims they come with. You're going to need your bowl bolts. These hold your toilet bowl to the floor. Just 1 set of those. You're going to need your tank to bowl gasket, and we're going to go over which one to pick because now they come in 2 different sizes. They come in 2" and 3", and I'll show you how you figure that out. My other set of bolts and new caps. These are new caps that go over the bolts that hold the toilet to the floor. It's more of a beauty thing, and it makes it look clean instead of just having bolts and nuts sticking out of your toilet. And you're also going to need some kitchen and bath caulk. Just make sure you use this type because it's mold resistant, and it's just a better caulk to use. Not all caulk is mold. Yeah, not all caulks are mold resistant. Now we get to take it apart. Let's get to that. Oh, and a bag. You're only going to need this bag, so keep it. First thing you need to do is turn off your water. So you just turn that until it stops. Some of these old ones, you got to give it a good snug, make sure it's off. Now that the water's off, flush your toilet. Just hold the lever down, let as much water go out as possible. Don't hear any water running? That's good. It's not going to flush anymore. This is the fun part. So now we get to take our rag. This works so much better with a sponge, but I couldn't find an old sponge to use. So we got to get all this water out of here because if we don't, it's going to be all over the floor.
It's gross.
It is gross, but it has to be done. And it's clean water.
I know. I've seen somebody drink it. And it's still gross.
You just want to get as much water as you can out of the bowl while you're doing this. It keeps it, once I break the seal on my wax ring, that water is going to come out. It's going to dump out, not to mention when I start moving the toilet around, it's going to start going through the P-trap. Your toilet has an automatic P-trap in it, and it's called a P-trap because it kind of looks like a P, and what it actually is it keeps it traps the fumes from your sewage, from your drain. So water stays in the bottom of the P-trap as it comes down. It stays in the bottom of that P-trap. The water stays in there, and fumes and gases and smells cannot go through the water. So that's why you have a P-trap under your sink. That's why you have a P-trap in your toilet, in your shower. It just keeps all that yucky smell out of there. And there's going to be water in there, so I want to get as much as I can out of the bowl. Next, you want to take your toilet seat off, and that's right under here. You just want to flip this up. They just pop right off. They got little catches on them. You got a flathead there, and you may need your pliers. It just depends on how tight it is. All right, so this right here is the bottom of the tank or of the toilet seat bolt. And I'm going to take that off. Let's see how tight it is. And then I'll do the same on the other side. Those are out. You just take your toilet seat off. Done. And do that because I'm going to be sitting here and I don't want to be moving around on my toilet seat and break it. Plastic, they will break. Next, you're going to take your tank cover off. Get that out of the way. Put that somewhere where you're not going to break it because it's just porcelain and it will crack. If it cracks, you're not fixing it. Next thing you want to do with this one, sometimes you'll have a blue flapper in there or whatever it is that holds the water in your tank. Just lift this up. Try to see if any more water comes out. If it doesn't, that's okay because we're going to sop it all out of there. This lever is kind of cool. I can just pull this pin. This slides up and I get that out of my way. I don't need that in my way. I want it gone. Take out your filler hose. This unscrews. And then I want to pull this out of my way. That's some awesome water we have here. That's what all that yellow is from our water.
Calcium?
Yeah, well, no, it's iron. Iron in the water. All right, I got most of the water out of there. So just put some paper towels down here because it's going to leak a little bit. You don't have to get it for. And then I like to take a mirror so I can see what I'm doing. Put it right there, and then I'm going to take my crescent wrench and I'm just going to loosen this up. Just get it loose. The water's already off. And then I can unscrew it with my hands. And you will typically get some water out of it when it first comes loose. There we go, no water yet. It means the water valve is doing good. Oh, there's a little bit. And then, there you go. Now we can finish. Now the fun part is I got to take these tank bolts off. This one has 3. So for that, I'm going to need a flathead screwdriver. And for this one, it's a 14 millimeter. I'm going to do that first one. And I'm going to hold it with my screwdriver. Maybe a different kind. This one may actually have another set of nut and washer on the bottom of it. And then take your tank right off. That's it. Tank is out of the way. So this one has an extra set of nuts down here. So we're going to take those off. And because I don't have a 14 millimeter or a socket deep enough for that, I'll just use my crescent wrench. That's why it's always good to have a crescent wrench. Good, you don't want them too tight because if you tighten them too much, it will crack this porcelain and then you have water everywhere. And you don't want that. And the reason I'm replacing these bolts is because, I don't know if you noticed inside the tank, there was the black washers, the neoprene washers. They degrade over time from all the water, calcium, iron, everything that's in your water. And they go bad, and that could be another source of a leak in the future, so might as well replace it when I'm doing it all. And then these just pop out. Those are out. And this is the gasket we're changing, and it's just easiest.
We're changing something on this.
We're changing both. Changing this too because I broke the seal on it, so it's good to replace it. That just pops right off. See how disgusting that is? That's what happens from years of getting wet. And that's why you have a trash bag and a bunch of paper towels. Throw that in there. You see that? That's disgusting. But it's just wore out rubber. That's all it is. All right, clean this off. Do not break that seal, because then you're gonna have to replace that one too. And I'm not doing that. All right, so we need our rubber gasket, 2-inch rubber gasket. That's what I forgot to show you before. If you don't know what size your rubber gasket is for this particular toilet and tank, you need to measure this, and you want to do it before you get the tank apart. So if this is on your toilet, it's going to be full of water, and you don't want to stick a tape measure in there. You don't want to and get it all wet and corroded. So you want to come in here with a stick or something that you don't mind getting wet, just something you can measure with, get an idea of what it is from here to here, get a close measurement, and then measure your stick. It's gonna be either 2 inches or 3 inches. This was closer to 2, so I went with 2 inches, and it was right. Or you can go on the internet and look up your model of your toilet, and that will tell you as well. This one was so old, there really wasn't anything on there other than the fact that it had a 2-inch or a 3-inch. And this just pops on right here. There. And as you can see, it's pretty soft. And you want that. It's going to compress down as we tighten it up. All right. So for now, we're done with this, and we're going to go over to removing the bowl. Now we're going to remove our bowl bolts to the floor. And this one is just a 7/16, and it just loosen up. Now, before you do anything else, you want to lay some paper towels down the same size as the base of your toilet, because you need, when I pull this off, there's going to be wax ring all over the bottom of it, and I need to be able to set it on something so that I can flip it over without getting, I don't want to get wax all over my floor, and just in case I end up setting it down the same way it's sitting, I want to be able to flip it. All right, so let's pop this sucker off the floor. And if you're lucky enough, I have extra cardboard from everything that we get, so I put it on there. One thing I want to do first, hold on, before we flip, is I got extra water in this bowl. All right, I'm going to pop this off, and then I'm going to let the water drain into the shower, and then I'm going to put it on there. Now, there we go. And that is what the bottom of your toilet looks like when it's been sitting for years and not sealed properly. This is where your knife and your paper towels come in handy. I'm gonna get all of this off of here. I'm just gonna scrape it off. Scrape as much of it off as you can with your knife. If you're doing this, you need to be willing to get dirty. If you don't like, and I'm not being mean, I don't mean anything by it. You wanna get all this caulk off too. If you can't handle dirt and grime and germs, please don't attempt this, because it will freak you out and you will not be happy. Little PSA there for you. I don't want anybody getting sick and freaking out while they're trying to change their toilet wax ring.
Well, it's not like that's actual bio waste, right?
No, but
It's just
water does. That's years and years of dirt and grime.
Okay, but it's not actual human.
It's not human waste, no.
So people should be all.
But it's the mindset. It's the mindset. And this is another reason why you want to use a wax ring and not the new poly, plastic, vinyl, whatever rings they have making now, because your porcelain bowl, if you look on the outside, it's nice and smooth. On the inside, it's very rough. And there's imperfections all in it, and they cast it that way, they make them that way. It's just the way it is, because they don't put the glaze on the outside. They only do it on the inside. They only do it on the outside. If you use one of those plastic rings, it's not going to properly seal around all of that. Whereas a wax ring, it's not wax from a candle. It's gooey wax that never dries. So it's going to be pliable and get mushy and get down in all of those little cracks and nooks and crannies and stuff.
Mold to all the imperfections.
Yep. And properly seal everything. All that green, blue crap, that is all from using those Clorox blue tabs. Let's clean your water. No, let's not. All that stuff does, all that chlorine does, is eat away at your rubbery gaskets. That, along with the water, does not help your toilet. I gotta clean all this off So it's nice and smooth for that rubber gasket. And that's why that rubber gasket is so soft and pliable, because it needs to be able to seal around all these little imperfections too. That stuff is on there.
So you're not doing all that to win points with my inner neat freak?
Nope. It needs to be gone.
Do you want one of the cleaning toothbrushes? I promise not to use yours.
Ha ha ha. No, she doesn't. She's just making it up. Now let's go to the floor. Now we get to clean up this disgusting mess. And you want to get it all out of there. Caulk. Look at that. That's just wrong. Actually, that doesn't even feel like caulk. There shouldn't be any water here when you're done. The water should go right in there. So, but I'm getting this out of the way because I'm going to recaulk it and I want it to be somewhat pretty. These little bolts right here, they come off. This is probably one of the worst ones I've ever seen as far as the dirt and junk underneath. This is dirt that, you know, from cleaning, and as you're cleaning, it gets pushed up underneath the toilet because it wasn't caulked to the floor properly. Those are trash, don't save them. Oh, they didn't screw it to the floor. They then set it to the floor. That was a big mistake. That's why you have all the paper towels. One other tool you're going to need is a level. Next thing you want is your bolts. These are extra long. Nuts, washers, and those little stays. You also want your caps and your wax ring. And get all that ready. These bolts, they got little wings on them. They go right in here and then slide it right there, and that way it doesn't come up. Just give it a little turn, get it over there. Now, remember, I don't want to put it here and here because my bolts will be here and here. The bolts for the toilet bowl are on the side. Next, wax ring. It's the wax ring inside, all right? Goes right on top just like this. And then you want to remove the plastic. Put it in place. You want it right over the hole just like that. It broke a little bit, but that's the cool thing about these wax rings. It's wax. It compresses together and makes a nice, wonderful seal. All right, so I got these set up. My bolts are in the right spot. I got a cap for this side up. They say this side up on them, so make sure you do it right. I have a washer, nut, and a nut. Now we set the toilet. I've seen some people take the wax ring and put it on the toilet first. That is a bad idea because it's not going to stay. It's going to fall right off on the floor. All right, so now you got to be careful and try to make sure you get your bolts set, and then your toilet falls right into place, and then you just kind of rock back and forth till it's seated. Boom. Don't pick it back up to check to see if it's sealed. Leave it. Next thing you want to do is make sure your toilet is level. Believe it or not, that little bit of it being out of level, I don't know if you can see that. All right, so believe it or not, even that little bit of it being out of level, I mean, it's 1/8 of an inch out of level. You will feel that when you're sitting on your toilet. So you want to make it level. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put the white washer, then the brass washer, and the nut. I'm not going to tighten it, I'm just getting them started. The plastic washer for your cap, metal washer, nut. All right, and we got these little shims, and you want to make sure you get it shimmed up a little bit. To where it needs to be. Nice and level. And you don't want it to rock. There. And then you also want to check it back to front. My level's not long enough. I can do it on the side of the bowl. And back needs to come up a little bit. That's too much. Level, level. Now I want to tighten it down. And then you cut your shims after you tighten it down. And this is why you want a wrench, not a socket, because they're very long. Tighten it down. Try to keep the plastic washer in the center. Check it. Level, level. Another good turn. All right, that part is done. The cool thing about these bolts, they came this way. I don't have to use my hacksaw. They have little spaces on them, and you can just break it off at the last part. So you just grab it with your pliers, and it's just brass. So just rock it back and forth with your pliers. Pops right off. See, it has those little spaces in it. And you want that out of your way because you gotta put your caps on.
Beauty caps.
The beauty caps. Boom, that just snaps on. Done. They didn't have beige ones. I should have got beige ones. Boom, done. So that's done. Last bit is the tank. All right, so I need to put my tank bolts on. And I bought stainless steel ones just because I like stainless steel better than the brass. So you put your washer on. This kit came with stainless steel wing nuts to mount it from the tank to the bowl. I don't believe in those, they come loose. So I am gonna do something a little different. Since the bolts are actually connected and tightened to the tank, I'm gonna use the old washers and nuts from the old ones and put those on to hold it on here, and then I will use the new ones for tank to bolt. Again, I don't want to over tighten it because I don't want to crack my tank, but I want it tight enough that the gasket, that the head of the bolt pulls the gasket close to the tank so it doesn't leak. I'm not putting a lot of force on it. And how do I know that it's tight enough? That's pretty much trial by error. There's really no way to judge it. Just make it tight enough that it compresses the washer a little bit, but it doesn't break your tank. All right, put that on there. And now washer and a nut. And it's basically you're just putting it back together the way you took it apart. Taking your time, putting your nuts and washers back on. And I'm not going to put them tight yet. I'm just going to snug it up because I'm going to level this too. You want to make sure your tank is level as well. This is not so important, but I just want to check it to see. The most important part is this way. And need to tighten down the left side. I'm just going to tighten this side down. Now when you're putting it back on, just use your fingers and go slow, get it straight. And once it catches, don't force it. If it feels like it catches and it doesn't go, it's not on there right. You want to make sure it's straight. You definitely don't want to strip this out. Finger tight, hand tight, and then take your crescent wrench and give it a few more turns. This thing is almost not big enough. You don't want to over tighten it because it's just a rubber washer in there. If you compress it too much, it will not, that's it right there. It will not seat properly, and I felt it get tight. When it got tight, that was done. Now we can turn the water on and make sure it's not leaking. And this will tell me if it's leaking here or at my bolts or at my gasket. So I just keep an eye out to see if I see any water dripping anywhere once the tank is full. And that's what paper towels are always good for. If paper towel's wet, you got a leak. All right, now I'm going to get all the water off my floor. And I'm going to flush it. Generally, I'll flush it 4 or 5 times. Let it cycle through and make sure I don't have any other leaks at all. And I'll know if it's leaking if the water comes flowing out from underneath my toilet. And I currently do not see any, which is always a good sign.
Logan's gonna tell you.
Logan's gonna tell me. He'll come lick it up.
He probably would.
All right, one more. Now just put the tank lid back on and the seat.
Leave it like that, and then you'll forever end the debate of seat up or down.
Yeah, I don't think you want to try to sit on that. Your butt will fall right in there, so will mine. And then we put our bolts back on for the toilet seat. Boop. Boop. Make sure you put that side up. Try to keep your seat as straight as possible. Pop, pop. And now I need to cut the shims and then caulk the toilet to the floor so it's nice and pretty. So I got a clean bucket of water and a rag and my caulking. Take the cap off, and you want to cut this at a little bit of an angle. It doesn't take a lot. Be careful, don't cut yourself. You don't want that on there. And then we're going to run a nice bead connecting the bowl to the floor. I'm not the best person at this in the world, but I can when I need to. Back here. Again, this is not a water seal. This is not to keep water from coming out. That's already been done. This is just beauty. It's just to make it look pretty. So there you go, all finished. If when you caulk you miss some spots or whatever, leave it a few hours. Let what you have there dry and then come back and fill in the holes. Don't try to do it while it's wet, because you'll just be there all day trying to fill in holes. Okay, so real quick before we go, I told you I was cutting these shims with a razor knife, and I want to show you how I actually cut them, because yeah, these things are so dense a razor knife will take you forever to cut them. So what I used was a chisel and my hammer, and I was very, very careful about it. You can use your putty knife that you had, that as long as it's got a sharp end on it, or a screwdriver, a flat tip screwdriver, but let me show you real quick. So when you have the shim under your toilet, let's say that's the toilet and it's like that, just take a chisel or whatever you're going to use. I use the chisel, and I use the beveled edge underneath the toilet that way, and just some light taps till it pops. And you'll hear it pop when you're on the tile. You don't want to hit it too hard because you could crack your tile. There, it gave way a little bit, right? Boom. And that will cut it very nicely and keep it underneath the lip of your bowl so that you can caulk it and the shim will be hidden by the caulk. Just remember, you don't hit too hard so you don't break your tile. Now let's close this thing out. It's numbers time. For time and materials, I'm not really gonna count my time on this one, and I'll tell you why here in a few minutes. For tools and supplies, we're looking at about $32 for all the parts I needed. The bolts, the tank bolts, the rubber gasket for the tank to the bowl, the wax ring, the little caps, the caulking, and all of that stuff. Now we looked this up online, and according to Google, a licensed plumber is anywhere from $45 to $200. Is that what you read?
Yes.
An hour.
An hour.
An hour. Now granted, we were making a YouTube video and it took us 2.5 hours to do it, but typically that's about an hour job. Let's go with a median, $135 an hour. I just saved myself $135 for 1 hour worth of work. So that's the time I'm gonna count. It saved me that kind of money. So I don't really care how long it took me to do it. I saved a bunch of money doing it. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you had any tips or ideas or suggestions on how to change your wax ring, put it below in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to see us do something that you might not know how to do, put it in the comments. Let us know. We'll see if we can't teach you how to do it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And after you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you can get notified every time we put out a new video. We put them out once a week. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one. We love you.